Get Gutsy, episode number 146 with Erica Gellerman on Do What Feels Real and Right. Welcome to Get Gutsy. I'm your host, Jenny Fennig, and I am so excited to be on this journey with you. A cutting edge show blending business and spirituality, Get Gutsy serves up a potent blend of stories, lessons, and tips to help you make a massive impact in the world through your soul's work and your inspired life. No more going it alone, no more excuses. The world needs more brave women saying yes to leadership. Are you with me? Good. Let's get gutsy now. Hey there, Jenny here. It's Get Gutsy time. You ready? All right, listen. When this goes live, I am in the great state of California. I will be in Cali for the week. I flew out for a few things. One, to spend some time with my brother Greg. You may or may not know that I found out I had an older brother that I never knew I had when I was about 25 years old. Pretty wild, right? He's technically my half brother. And he and his wife live in Los Angeles, and I am spending some time with them. Before heading up to Northern California, I have a meeting in San Francisco with the woman who's been my coach for the last year, Jennifer Kem. I'm also seeing my old NYC roommate, Jen. I have a lot of things with Jen's. Not Jen Kem, but this is a different Jen. She just had her third baby, so I'm going to see her and then head up to Sonoma for a weekend retreat that Jennifer Kem, my coach, is leading for a mastermind I've been a part of. So my California time is going to be full and beautiful, seeing, lots of wonderful people that I'm pumped to spend time with, and just getting some solo time for myself too. I want to hit up some yoga studios, get some quiet time in, sleep in a bit. This past week, my husband was away on business, so oh yeah, that was full on. That was full on. So now the tables turn a bit, and I'm flying solo. And once I finish up in California, I head down to Tulum, Mexico, to lead a retreat for my mastermind, which is called Glow, and Glow is freaking rad. And yeah, I'll be in Tulum, Mexico for the week after I'm in California. So, oh yeah, there is just a lot happening, and I'm grateful for it all. Many lessons, lots of growth, stretching, comfort zone, breaking through the comfort zone, all of it. And today's episode is going to delight you. I feel it's a great message, especially for those of you who want to write a book, who have written a book, who are thinking about writing a book. What happens when you get your work out there? Our guest today, her name is Erica Gellerman, and she was a disenfranchised corporate girl. And she stumbled upon my book, Get Gutsy. Yeah, she did. And it was so awesome to have her share that story of her, getting the book and taking it with her on this flight and just realizing that that work that I put into that piece of work, the book, which was a long ass project, it went to serve somebody like Erica and inspire her to get out of that place that wasn't for her and start her own thing. So we dive into that, and oh my gosh, just have fun listening and letting it inspire you to figure out what your next moves are going to be. Honestly, I feel like that's life, figuring out your next moves. Figuring out your next move. The day that I'm recording this, actually, I had a really juicy conversation with Danielle Laporte. You may have heard of her. She's pretty big. She's written a bunch of books, has, this media empire, shares her work, is very well branded and well respected. And as part of, an investment I made in helping her spread the word about her recent book, White Hot Truth, I was able to get a private call with her and she's going to do a call for my coaching students very soon. I can't wait to do that with them. But that was really what I came to the call with her was what's my next move? Like what's worth my time? And I feel like that's what you're going to get from this conversation too with Erica is, what's that next move of yours? The theme of the episode is do what feels real and right. And you're going to learn about how she left some pretty, quote, fancy jobs, if you will, at big companies with names that to chart her own path. She is inspiring, she's courageous, and you're going to really freaking crack up, I think, and be pushed to do something very bold when she tells you a story of how she landed her first client in London. P.S. It was the wife of a royal, like legit royal, how they roll in England. Yeah, the story is hilarious. It's so bold. She tells it really well, and I'm excited. I'm just laughing about it right now because honestly, I did the interview with Erica a few months back. I was able to batch a bunch of interviews in the spring because I knew I wasn't going to be doing any interviews this summer. I just wanted a different kind of energy this summer. And I'm just thinking back of when she was telling me the story, and I'm like, OMG, that is so fantastic. So it's finally time for me to share Erica Gellerman with you and her journey on doing what feels real and right. Enjoy it. And if you like this episode, if you get something from it, make sure you share it with somebody you love in your world. Sharing is caring. Erica Gellerman, welcome to Get Gutsy. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, we're going to have a blast because we already were having a blast in our pre-show banter. So I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to be a good one. I can tell. So where are you living, Erica? Are you across the pond? Are you in London?
I sure am. Yeah, I'm in London actually. So I moved here about 3 years ago, just over 3 years ago now, from California.
From
So
California. So California to London. What prompted that move?
well, actually, I've been kind of traveling all over. So it was, California, Hawaii, North Carolina, California, London. So it's been a lot of moves. But this one, what prompted it was my husband's job transferred him overseas, and I made the decision that it was time to quit my job and go with him, which was not an easy decision to make because I actually really liked my job at the time.
So what were you doing then when this opportunity came up?
I was working at Procter and Gamble. I was in brand management. So I had just finished an MBA program. I went to Duke and got my MBA, and because I wanted to switch into marketing from accounting, and I wanted to make that career jump, and I just wanted some more education. And so I came out of school with $120,000 in loans, so a lot of loans. And but it led me to this career that I really liked, out in LA, working in brand management. And
so it was P&G. What you were in LA, not in? Isn't their headquarters like in Salone, Ohio, or something?
Oh, it's in Cincinnati. Yes.
Oh, it's in Cincinnati. I knew all these locations of random companies because my last corporate job, I would invite corporate leaders to speak at my conferences, and so I would know like the headquarter addresses. I was like, I have random facts in my brain. Okay, I knew it was in Ohio. I knew it was in Ohio. Yeah. Okay, but you were based in LA. That's cool.
I was, yes, because I was lucky enough to get to work on their hair care brands, which were based in LA. Their professional hair care brands. So I was about 2 years into my job there, just under 2 years into my job there, and his company said, "Oh, we're transferring you to London." And I was sitting on an airplane actually with, Wi-Fi going across the country as he emails me, "Hey, they're transferring me to London in a couple months." I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I guess we're going to move to London. I don't know." And so it was just, so I decided to join him and be supportive of his next career move. But it left me kind of looking for, well, gosh, I'm leaving a job that I really enjoy, and a new career that I had just started on, basically,
Right.
2 years
2
in.
years after MBA at Duke, 120K in loans, and so
Yeah,
it
and
was.
by the way, my loans were down to like 110 at this point.
Okay, okay.
So there was a significant financial consideration to think about too. I was like, well, all right, so we're going to go to London and I need to figure this out. So we packed our bags and came to London.
Did
And
you quit your job? Like, how did that work out?
I did quit my job. I did talk with them about maybe working remotely from here, but the team still would have been in California and with an 8 hour time
Big
difference.
time
And I
difference.
knew, yeah, and just trying to, I work completely remotely now, and I embrace it now. But at the time, it was just such a foreign concept, and I didn't really understand how it would work. And P&G is an old school company, and so
Yes,
they're in person meetings.
absolutely.
You know, flown to Cincinnati for a dinner. Basically like in person stuff. So I didn't think trying to manage a team from London would work out very well. I didn't think it would end well. How about that? Yeah.
So you quit the job, and so you went to London jobless.
With nothing,
Okay.
totally jobless and completely I don't know, a little bit confused about what I was going to do next. And so I ended up, you know, I've always been like really thoughtful about what my next moves were. And when I got here, I saw that, $110,000 loan balance
Right.
and was not very thoughtful about what my next move was because I was like, oh my God, I'm in a foreign country. Like the first week, I was like, oh, this is great. I'll get to know the scene. I'll figure it out.
Right.
Week two, I was in a full on panic. I'm like, oh my God, no one will ever hire me. This is going to be the worst thing ever. I don't know what I'm going to do. So I ended up taking a job with Amazon. And that just ended up, it wasn't right. They should have never hired me. I should have never accepted the job offer. Like we weren't
You
compatible.
weren't a good match. You weren't a good
we were,
match.
we were an explosive match. That's for sure.
Oh, interesting. It's like you can look at it, with relationships, like the romantic relationship. It was very explosive. Like it was wild in the bedroom, but like, oh my God, like we couldn't get along. It just, I don't know. Okay. So it was
Ex- ex-
explosive. It was explosive. And
it
that's interesting in London because you don't think of like the Brits, that energy is like being very explosive. Everything's very, very steady, very proper, but it wasn't.
It is it is very steady and proper, but it was just such a bad fit. And I'm usually I really like to be liked, and I think that I was not very honest with myself. I was flattered that they were offering me a job. I wanted to get in and do a good job, and I told my husband when I was right before I started, I think the day before I started, I was like, I always want to feel very black or white about something. Like I either love it or I hate it. I was like, I never want to have a career that I feel very mediocre about. So I hope I either love or hate this job. And yeah, I really
You
hated
got your wish.
I didn't get my wish. I was so hopeful it would go the other way. But it didn't. And it culminated in me. The bad part about working over in the UK is instead of giving 2 weeks notice, you give 3 months notice.
Oh my.
Which, can you imagine?
No, because 2 weeks is hard enough. You're kind of like dying, every day going in, going, oh, my manager like really hates me right now because I quit. Or the team is frustrated because I'm like bolting and they're having to pick up the slack and all that. 3 months.
Exactly. 3 months of pulling that out, and they tried to extend it to 4 months. Like,
Whoa.
hey, they threw this thing, and I was like, nope, no way, not a chance. And so I ended up, it got so bad that I didn't even make it the 3 months. And this is actually how I found you, was I, 3 weeks in, I just completely had a total breakdown, just couldn't handle the mismatch in our values. Like we are just, how they operated, how I want to operate was completely off. And I just had a complete breakdown. Like leaving my computer and my badge on the desk and walking out of the office, breakdown.
Wow. Like I'm out, never to return again.
Like,
Oh, I
not
love it.
Well, at the time I didn't. Now I'm like, okay with
That's a
it.
good
I mean,
scene from the movie. But yes, while you're in it, you're like, this sucks. Get me out of here. But you were
yeah,
in it was like your body was just like, I gotta get out, and sometimes we just have to make these really bold moves. And so you got to that breaking point and you left the computer and your employee badge on your desk, and then
yep.
what'd you
And
do next?
I emailed HR from the cab and said, not coming back. Thank you. It's been real.
Hmm.
And, it's funny you say that listening to your body. I like this whole time, I was just, I was, I started taking the long route to work. And as soon as I would get close to the office, I would start crying. And I
Wow.
didn't really understand. Like, tried to just push that away. No, no, no.
Right.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. And it got to a point where it just, yeah, sitting there at that moment, I was having trouble breathing. Like I
Mm.
just couldn't get the breath, like the air into my body. Like it just wasn't happening.
Oh my. Yeah, we're
And
having like a panic attack. Hmm.
yeah, like a little one. And
Hmm.
that's why you should always listen to your body because I
Yeah.
had pushed it to such a point where it was like a point of no return.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Point of no return. So you emailed HR from the cab. You're like, I'm out. Good luck to you. Then what happened?
then, I clearly had nothing on my schedule. My
You had an
husband was
open
like,
schedule. Yeah, which is awesome. And then also sometimes terrifying. Uh-huh.
it was really terrifying. He was like, "Well, why don't you go back to San Francisco, visit family and friends for a couple weeks, and just feel better? Like, just go enjoy some time." It was, you know, end of summer. It was nice, so I booked a flight. I left like the very next day, and right before I left, I was like, "All right, I'm gonna download some books to give me some inspiration for what I'm going through."
Hmm.
And yours was one of the books that I downloaded, one of like two books that I downloaded,
How did you
and
find my book? Somebody suggested to you? Did you search and it just came up?
nobody suggested it to me because I wasn't really talking about this feeling with anyone yet to even like have anybody start to give me suggestions for what to look for. I think I just was Googling and I found your website.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
I found it through your website, and then I saw your book and I read your story, and I was like, "Oh, she gets me."
Mm-hmm.
She
Mm-hmm.
knows if there's anything that I'm gonna read on this flight, it's gonna be this, and this is gonna help sort out my brain, or I'm either gonna know that I'm crazy or know that I'm not from reading your book.
I love it. I love it.
So,
Yeah, I do get it. Mm-hmm.
so I read your book. I read the. It was the first thing. I still remember sitting in that little window seat, like just every single page. Did not sleep on that flight. I was like, yes, yes, exactly, exactly. Okay. And by the time I got off, life wasn't better, but I was like, all right, I'm gonna go do something. I'm not gonna go look for another job like I had. You're not gonna look for something I don't want. I'm just gonna
Right.
start going after and figuring out what it is that I really do want. And I think that was like a pivotal moment, and something that I go back to a lot is that feeling of like, okay, all right, we're gonna start again. And I love that I was on a plane when it happened because it felt like, and going across like the world, because it felt like
Yes.
the doors open and it was like, okay, I can do this. This is gonna happen. Uh,
Absolutely. I get some of my best ideas on planes. Plus, no one's like distracting you. I mean, yeah, there is no Wi-Fi on planes, but it's different. It's not like you're at your desk or whatever. It's like so many possibilities. You're up there in the clouds and you see things from a new point.
I agree. I'm so productive on planes, and not like I try to be. It's like I want to be. There are so many things that I want to like that come into my head, and I want to get out. As I'm on this flight. And
Yes.
it was one of those moments where I actually had 11 hours of reading your book and some
Hmm.
self reflection. And I was
Hmm.
like, oh, all right, I'm starting this. This is going to happen.
So you get to California, and what was that experience like? Were you just able to settle in? Were the wheels spinning about what you could create for a
Um,
business?
the wheels were spinning. I was there for almost 2 weeks. And I was seeing a lot of my friends, and a lot of my friends from business school live there. And that was what was really hard was for the first like 8 days that I was there, I didn't even tell anyone what had happened. I
Right.
just said, "Oh, no, I'm just on vacation. I'm on vacation." And it
Right.
finally like all came out as one of my friends gave had a baby while I was there.
Yeah.
And I went to go visit her in the hospital. I'm holding her newborn. And she was like, "Are you okay?" And I just started crying. I was like, "No, this is what happened. I quit my job and I don't know what's happening. And I read this book and here's what I think I want to do." And I was nervous because I knew I had these ideas of what I wanted to do, but I was nervous that people would judge me for it not being a traditional path.
Right.
So many of my friends, all of my friends are like really, really successful
and
professionals.
they do the corporate thing, which is so MBA-ish. Like my roommate in New York City, I lived there for 11 years and I started my corporate career there. I mean, you know the story, you read my book, but I remember I thought I was going to go back to school and get an MBA. Like when I graduated, I was like, yeah, I'll go work for a while, then I'll go back because I love school and I'll go get an MBA. I love business. And she wanted to do the same thing. We met in New York. We didn't know each other in college. And she would say to me, "Jenny, okay, like, let's do it. Let's study for the GMATs, the GREs. I don't even know what they're called." Yeah, I was like, yeah, the G starts with the G. And she got like the books to like, prepare to study. And she's like, "Come on, let's do it together." And I just like my instinct inside of me said, no, that's not the path for you. You don't need to go do that because I knew the end game. I don't want to go work in finance. I don't want to work at like an insurance company. I didn't want to, and I didn't know then why I felt that way. I just felt very strongly that the MBA was not going to lead me there. And I know like her and her friends and like what they're doing, it's great, but I wouldn't want to do that. Like that's not my thing. And so I can imagine you hanging out with these people and you're kind of like, oh, they're doing the thing that was the goal, kind of why you went to get your MBA. And then you realize, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's not my goal. Oh, and by the way, I still have loans.
I still got loans, so I got to pay this thing off. What the F am I going to do? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I have to say, I was so nervous that my friends would, kind of judge me or like be like, okay, sure. Like you're being crazy. Mm-hmm. But luckily, everybody that I started talking to on that trip was like, "Oh, I have no idea what you're saying. I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, you want to go do something online? All right, have fun. We fully support you. We know you're smart. You'll figure this out, but we fully support you," which was really nice. And so I kind of built up my courage to I had like a list of things that I wanted to maybe explore when I got back to London. And so once I got back to London, I had written down a few things. I was like, all right, first thing I need to continue paying these loans. So I need to figure out how to use the skills that I have developed in my corporate life and use them to benefit someone who is not a giant corporation, which is a lot harder than I realized it would be because I was reading this career blog and the guy writing it said, don't work for a big company for too long because you just learn big company skills.
Right, and big company budgets.
Yes, exactly. I was managing a $10 million budget.
Yeah.
Like, no big deal.
Right.
And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I have no marketing budget. What do you do when you have no marketing budget?
Yeah, or when you're trying to, sell your services to small businesses who've never invested in marketing or think that, $10K or whatever the price point is like astronomical. And
insane.
You're going,
what? Yeah, exactly. But then also there's that other side where you have to believe in yourself enough too. Like, is it going to really be worth it for them to spend that much money? Am I actually going to deliver the value? Like, I don't care even if it's $15. I still think about that. Like, are they going to be really, really happy and get, 10x the value, like from spending $15 or whatever it is? So I decided I was going to explore that avenue and trying to help small businesses really work on actually, I didn't really know what I would do at that time. I had ideas. I was like, well, I'll help with their marketing, or I'll help refine their business model, or maybe I'll help with their finances. Like, I'll figure it out because I also have my CPA. So I was like, I can do something in here and I'm just going to play with it until it works out. And then on the other side, I was like, I also really want to kind of build up another skill and kind of get some of these thoughts out of my head. And I'm not a writer, but I was like, I'm going to work on this skill and I'm going to build this up right now too. So I was managing both of those like dual goals and flailing a little bit, but I was really determined to just, I had no backup plan. I couldn't go back to Amazon and be like, just kidding. Can I have my job back? This didn't work, and
Right.
I felt a little bit like my back was up against a wall. And I was trying to figure out, like, how am I going to get my first client? Like, how am I going to do this? And I was watching this reality TV show called The Ladies of London, which is like on the Bravo network.
Yeah.
It's like the Real Housewives of London
Right.
type show. So I'm watching this show, and there's this woman on it, and she is struggling with this business that she runs. And she's, saying something like, well, I just don't understand. She's looking at her financial statements and looking at like, getting her product to market. And she's like, well, I just don't really understand like this side of things. It's really all new to me. I struggle with it. And I was just sitting there. I was like, oh, but I understand that side of things. I'll help you. And so I sent her an email and was like, I'd like to meet for coffee because I think I can help you with your business.
Wow,
Thanks.
that's gutsy, girl.
Yeah, actually, I guess it was. Yeah. And I mean, I wrote a nice email and she responded to me and she was like, okay, sure. It took her a couple weeks to respond. And at first she was like, yeah, maybe we'll set up a time. Maybe, very like, non-committal.
Right.
So she's a yoga instructor. I forgot about this part. She's a yoga instructor. So I tracked her down.
I went to her
yoga
class. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And then afterwards went up and introduced myself and
I'm
said,
that girl who emailed you.
Yeah. See, I'm totally normal and you should want to have coffee with me. So then we set a coffee date and I came prepared like I was, really pitching for a consulting gig and she was in. So we've been working together since last January was when I first started working with her. So we've been working together for over a year now. So she's been my longest client and my, one of my favorites.
Wow, I love it. I've been watching a reality TV show. See, it's not just like wasted time. You might realize I can help that person, and you email them, and they're kind of non-committal, and then you go to their yoga class and go. That's the best. That's such a great story.
Yeah, it was really funny. My friends at the time who were living in London, they're like, "Wait, you did what?" And I was like, "I just had coffee with." She's also married to an earl, so she's a lady, like a legit lady. I was like, I just had coffee with somebody who's related to the royal family, and I'm going to help her with her business. So I think that was like the first, getting that first, client was just like does everything for your confidence.
Oh yeah. Yeah, then you're like, okay, I'm legit in business. Like, we have revenue coming in the door. I have a project to work on, and let's go. And then let's get another one.
Exactly. And then from there, and then the other piece was writing that I was working on is I also kind of just went into it with like, well, I'm going to see what happens. So I wrote a couple articles and I just sent them to this website I had read, pretty religiously for the 2 or 3 years prior to that called The Every Girl. Mm-hmm. And I sent an article and I was like, would you be interested in maybe publishing this? Mm-hmm. And they wrote back and said, would you be interested in being our finance editor? And I said, I sure would. Thanks. It was really like I've had so many no's since then. It was just so weird that the very first one that I sent out came back with such a big yes, both of them. Like that was the first client I pitched and the first writing opportunity that I pitched, and they both came back with like yes, and I was like, this is going to be so easy,
right?
And then it wasn't. So I had to learn how to deal with that. But I spent the very first, I would say 9 months in my business kind of just trying to figure out. I had spent so much time with my corporate job, wanting to be liked and do a good job that I didn't want to solely focus on that with my clients. and my writing. I wanted to be liked and do a good job, and also do what felt really, really right for me,
Right.
and not just do what was bringing in money or do what was working. It had to like feel like it was really meaningful and sustainable and something that I felt good about charging for.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no point, I think, in being an entrepreneur and doing your own thing if you're still playing by those old rules that you realize, wait, there was a reason why that dynamic didn't work for me. And maybe it works for my friends still or the majority of the world, but you know what? It doesn't work for me. And I'm actually doing my tribe, my clients, my readers a disservice if I'm watering it down, if I'm just trying to
Yeah.
be like when you have to, give coaching or consulting or some guidance to a client and you know that it may hurt, like it may hit up against something, but by you not doing it, they're just staying at the status quo. Like they came to you to grow. They came to you to expand. And expansion is freaking it hurts sometimes. I've had
Yeah.
3 babies, and so like birthing, the contractions, like it's painful. It's transition. It's painful, but yet that's your job. And for me, when
Yeah.
I hit up against that whole thing of like, oh, Jenny always does it that way, or I'm this person's blah blah. They've known me for a long time. I don't know if I can say that or da da. And I'm very into yoga. And I come back to this Kundalini Yoga teacher's oath that has served me so many times. I shout out to Gabby Bernstein for teaching me this, planting the seed for me for this yoga teacher's oath. I am a trained yoga teacher, but Vinyasa was the world that I went through. Kundalini is a different form, and I'm a student of Kundalini now, and I love it. But that oath, which is so freaking good, and I literally like just this week was journaling and writing that down because I needed to remember it at that moment, which is I am not a woman, I am not a man, I am not a person, I am not myself, I am a teacher. I am not a woman.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, it's freaking good. I am not a woman. I am
Yeah.
not a man. I am not a person. I am not myself. I am a teacher. Because how often do we say, oh gosh, a woman would do it like this. Someone's daughter would do it like this. A wife would do it like that. A
Mm-hmm.
blah, blah would do it like that. They know me like this. They've known me for 20 years. If I do this thing, they're going to freak out. It's like, okay, no. When we are really in alignment with our calling and what we're here to do, and we said yes to being a spiritual teacher, so I feel like that's who we are, and it's people who listen to this show, that's what we have to do, and your people will respect you for it. They might not like it straight out of the gate. That's okay. That's okay. They will come to respect you for it. And that
Yeah.
I've just been like hitting up against that lesson so much, and I'm not going to say that it's easy because I go back to that scared little girl mode of like, oh my God, like what's going to happen? You know what? You know what's going to happen? Awesome stuff. Like, awesome stuff. And some
It
stuff might have to
totally.
come crumbling down to get there, but that's okay. You can handle it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's such a really, really good thing to remember. And I'm gonna write that down
Write
after
that
this. But
down. Write that down. It's so
but
good.
it's true. It's true. Like, you know, in figuring out what was right for me was has been the most important part of this whole entire process, and I think it will continue to be the most important part of this process. Not just being comfortable and not just doing what I'm, supposed to, or saying what I think I'm supposed to say, or do what I think I'm supposed to do, but actually doing what is real and right, and like feels good, continues to move your business along, even if it feels like you're taking steps backwards or going off of we're so used to paths, which in the corporate world, you're on a path, which
Yep.
doesn't even exist anymore in that world. People are changing jobs every 3 years. There are no real ladders anymore, but we're
Right.
like pre-conditioned to
Yes.
like, think about what's next on the path without really thinking about what's right,
Yeah, or even do you want to be on that path? Like, do you even like where this path is taking you? Do you like the
Yeah.
scenery? Do you like the people who you're hanging with? Because
Yeah.
that path might not be your path. And that, for those of us, like, obviously you and I, Erica, we know this because we came from that corporate background. It's so freaking different. Like, it's so different.
Yeah.
And you were in, like, really traditional corporate environments. Like, I was in not to say where you were wasn't creative, but I was at these creative places. We were serving corporations. Like my clients were we had Gillette and Kellogg and Pfizer and
Oh yeah.
Polaroid and Hershey. So like I had those clients, right? You worked for
Right.
those types of companies. I was like the creative branch of the work that they would put out into the world. And even with that, I just remember walking the halls of Pfizer because they were my last client in my public relations agency days. And I just remember going, whoa, like this building.
I don't like it.
No offense to
Yeah.
Pfizer. I went to some awesome places as a result of that gig all around the world. But I just remember going, thank God I don't work here like all the time. I just
Yeah.
am not wired to do this thing. I remember sitting through meetings. We had to do these, when you get, you like to do any kind of marketing for a pharmaceutical. Oh my God, like one line has to be vetted by a gazillion people, and you sit in these meetings, and I'm like dying, like my brain is exploding, going, it's just a word, like we've got to move on, we
Yeah.
got to move. But they can't, it's just regulated, and that's how it is. And I just knew, I go, this is a stop on the journey. And I worked on that client for like a year. And then I was just like, get me the F out of here. Like, I can't, it's like you, and you're just like, drop the badge and like, I gotta go. That was me. I
Yeah.
remember
I'm out.
I put my resume, remember, I don't even know if it still exists, but like monster.com and hot jobs
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
Oh yeah. I put my
Oh
resume
yeah.
up. I didn't even care like who would find it, And so I got a call from the head of the division, like, Jenny, one of my friends just was like looking for something, like I'm sure that's part of their HR like retention strategies to see which employee puts their resume up. But she was
Yeah.
like,
Who's leaving?
one of my friends just so happened, and she knew that you work for me, whatever. And I'm like, oh, I didn't try to like hide it. I was just like, listen, this ain't working for me. Like I'm not. And so
Wow. Good
yeah,
for you.
yeah, we tried to see if there was some changes that could be made, but like you, it's like it was just not a right fit. It was just not a right
Yeah.
fit, and it's frustrating and terrifying because you think, well, I thought it would be a right fit, and I thought this was my dream, and you went and got your MBA. For me, I majored in public relations. I was president of the Public Relations Student Society of America, the largest chapter in the nation. I'm supposed to work in PR. And then when I get there and I'm
Right.
like, this is not what I thought it was going to be. And, how long are you willing to stay in something just because you got your degree in it or because you thought that that's what one like you does? You have to
Yeah.
be willing to listen to that inner voice, listen to your body. If you're having mini panic attacks before you get to work, there's a freaking reason.
At the time, I just thought, oh, no, it's fine. It's fine.
Just
But
my
yeah, there is
body.
a reason. But, and something that I had to learn was that this was my problem. It wasn't the company's problem. And so as I started building a new business, I realized I was bringing in those old problems and like building myself something that I didn't really, I needed to
Yes.
make sure I checked in with myself and,
Yes.
all right, is this still the way I want to be going? Because
Yes.
you don't, I didn't want to wake up at another point and, be crying as I'm
Right.
walking into my office at home.
Right.
What have I done? I've built myself another thing that that isn't right.
Right.
So it's the process of still continuing to check in and make those changes. And I did, like at the beginning of this year, make a pretty significant change where I decided
Tell us
to
about it.
shift my business even a little bit more. So
So what change did you make?
I guess last summer I started writing a weekly column for Forbes about women negotiating their salaries. Just because I thought it was, an interesting topic, and I'm really still very interested, even though I'm not working in a corporate job anymore. I still think it's really interesting just hearing, all the discussion around the gender pay gap and how women, maybe don't negotiate as much, and kind of the hesitations of speaking up there, And so I started writing this series just as something on the side, continue my writing. And I started having all of these women reach out to me, wanting to talk, wanting more, wanting
Right.
to just engage and just have this discussion. And then I started having women, wanting to set up phone calls and just just can I chat with you? Can I just talk to you about what I'm feeling in my job and how I'm feeling about this and the frustrations I'm having? Because I'm fairly open about my story, and pieces of it resonate with people. And so I put up this website called The Worth Project. I was like, all right, here, I'll post stories. People can reach me here. And I started realizing that even without an opt-in, I just had to, enter your email if you want to hear from me. And then I checked it, a month later, and I had hundreds of women who had put in their email address. And I was like, oh, I should probably email them something. And it, I kind of didn't really know what to do for it for the last year, or not last, during the last 6 months. And at the beginning of this year, I decided I wanted to devote more time to it and really create this community of women who are wanting to talk about, creating meaningful careers for themselves, either within a corporate environment or without.
Right.
And, earning money that feels really good to them, not because they feel like they have to, negotiate, but because they want to, because they really want to speak up and advocate for their own value, whether it's with clients or whether it's with their corporation. And so at first I was like, I'm going to keep my current client load and I'm going to do this on the side. This will be my side hustle. But that doesn't really last for very long. Burnout ensues pretty quickly. And I felt myself pushing back into that place of kind of dreading things a little bit. Like I had too many balls in the air.
Yep.
And so I made the hard decision to kind of limit the number of clients that I take on in my consulting business so that I could devote more time to the Worth Project so that I could kind of do both. I still really love my clients and, helping them build their business into the most profitable business that it can be through different marketing strategies and content strategies. But I love also what I'm doing with the Worth Project, and I just had to figure out a way to make it work. And it was really scary to say no. I'm not going to take some of these clients on, or our time has come to an end, and it's not going to continue because
I don't have space.
Exactly. And it was really scary, and it still is really scary every day to think about that. Some days I'm like, oh no, wait, I should just go back and do that because it was working. But I have to remember, it may have been working for, some parts of me, but it wasn't working for all of me.
And not where you're going, I think we've got to be willing to let go of that and just kind of, drift in the sea for a bit on this boat, because we're going on this voyage, and trust that we'll get there. But, when you feel like, already you said these people who were signing up, you weren't even sending anything at first, and you're like, oh, I probably should email them, that you had something there. And the column in Forbes was giving you access to these readers who were intrigued by your message and inspired by it. And so you'll never know what that could become or can become unless you give it your best shot.
Exactly. And, I think what you said about kind of like embracing, I can't remember how you phrased it, but what I heard was embracing the journey, kind of like just, like you can't be so set on one path. Like,
right.
I'm going to do A, B, and C, and then I will get to Z. Like, you just have to, and that's a really hard lesson for a control freak to learn.
Recovering control freaks. Yeah, I have a lot of them on my show, because I am one myself. And so we're like, yeah. But, it's like that whole thing of what's the worst thing that'll happen here? What's the best thing that could happen? And you know what, Erica, if you get to the end of 2017, you're like, that was awesome. And now I have some more bandwidth to take on consulting clients because we got the Worth Project to a certain point and I have more team that can support it. Or, we got these programs set up and they're pretty systematized now. And I want to take on even more premium consulting clients and, do this and this, then you can. It's not like you just made a decision for the rest of your life. It's just for right now, for this season.
Oh, you're right. I need to remember that. It is just for this season.
This season.
I still get so focused on, the end, and I really try and remind myself to just do what feels right now and, make the best decision I can right now for what's going to work for me.
Yeah. And stay in the question. Like I have to do that a lot with my kids, 3 kids. And I'm in the season that I'm in right now. 10 years from now, it'll be a different season. And so I can make different decisions. But I feel like as women, when we push against the season, when we forget that life and business is a series of cycles, then we suffer. And our
Mm-hmm.
work suffers because we can't be our best because we're basically working against nature. Like we're working
Yeah.
against the forces that be. So I want to give you a lot of credit for opening yourself up to that. I think it sounds really exciting. Where can our listeners find out more about that?
You can come to, or they can come to theworthproject.co
Mm-hmm.
to learn more about that. And then I'm also at ericagellerman.com for my consulting services. But yeah, at the Worth Project, we have some different resources and guides for unsticking your career or learning how to negotiate your salary. And then I do monthly workshops online for people.
Yeah.
So
Go girl. I love it. Great name.
thanks.
Great name. Great name. Actually that word worth is a focus of my mastermind, which is called Glow this round. I had never given my masterminds like a theme, and if I don't even know how it just came through me on this round. Like I really do well when I have a theme that I'm like marinating in, and
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy because when I was in high school, I was on the yearbook staff for all 4 years. I was really into that. And we always had themes every year for our yearbooks. And those themes really anchored the stories that we were telling and the journey that we were all on as a staff and really as a school, as a community. And so as I was pulling this mastermind experience together, the theme just it like flashed in front of me, and worth is one element of it's worth, truth, and letting go. And I
Oh,
share that with you just to say, yeah, I'm totally with you on the worth piece. And me, am by the time this goes live, I probably will be 40. I'm turning 40 in May, and
happy
I'm
birthday.
just yeah, thank you. I'm like so introspective right now. I'm so in tune. I'm so like doing these things, like making these decisions that a year ago I would have been petrified to make. Like I can't do that. I'm not. I can't say that. I can't do that thing. Now it's like yes, I can. I still have some of that. Like oh, but I do it anyway. Like I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
do this because I'm willing to deal with the stuff that's going to come out on the other side because I know it's going to be worth it. I think when we tell
Yeah.
ourselves we're worth it, then, all the moves that we make are all worth it. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Well, I'm so
Yes.
glad that you stumbled upon Get Gutsy in your moment of like, what am I doing
Oh
with
my
my
God.
life? I got to get out of here. And I'm so
Me
like,
too.
yeah, totally. And it's such a great validation for me and like having done that work. And what's interesting is I actually because where did you went to San Francisco on that trip? Where in California?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. San
Well,
Francisco.
okay, it was a different part in California where I really birthed a lot of it, but it was in LA. My book writing coach is in California, and so I did a lot of the heavy lifting for that book there, where I just like committed and invested 5 figures to work with this book writing coach because I knew I was like, this has to come out of me. Like I can't just be thinking about this anymore. I've got to get it out. I have to get it out on paper. I need to do it for myself, and I know that there are people out there who are like me who thought that this one path was going to be it for them, and then they pursued it and it just wasn't. And you can feel so lonely because it seemed like all these other people were on that road and they were fine, or maybe
Yeah.
they complained about it but they weren't doing anything about it. And I'm like, I can't just do this anymore. I can't just like bitch about my work and be okay with that. Like I just can't. I can't.
Exactly.
So to know, like, you don't have to. There's another road, and there's people who are like us who are willing to freaking quit without another thing lined up because you just trust in the flow of the universe. You know that you're never just going to be like desolate on the side of the freaking road, with no options. Like, you'll go email the chick on the reality TV show about her yoga class. Like,
That's true. That's true. I know. I think my parents probably thought I was going to be on the street,
right.
but
Well, they kind of were like, but you got your MBA and you got the thing, like you were doing it. Now what are you doing? And you just
yeah.
have to follow your own drum.
Yes, exactly. And I'm so, so, so thankful that you wrote it because I have to tell you, on that airplane, 11 hours, that window seat, I was just looking at the clouds and reading your book. I was like, okay,
Oh my
you've got
gosh.
this. You can do this, Erica.
That's so
So
beautiful. That's so beautiful, Erica. This has been fabulous. You're one gutsy woman. You've shared a lot of your gutsy moves. Maybe you've shared the answer to this question, maybe not. I'm going to ask you. What is the gutsiest move you've ever made, and how does it inspire your life and work today?
so I was going to share moving to London, but I feel like we've covered that a little bit. So I'm gonna take you way back to high school, and I would say the gutsiest move, one of my first gutsy moves, which I think has allowed me to do a lot, and it gave me a lot of confidence, was I really wanted to play water polo. And we didn't have a girls' water polo team. So I joined the boys' water polo team. And I played like very, very, physical, hard contact water polo for 2 years on the guys' team. And I have to say, before that, I was like a really shy, like timid person. I had never played a contact sport before.
Really?
And then I jumped into a pool with a bunch of dudes that were bigger than me and stronger than me, and I just had to learn what I was good at. I was a lot faster than them. I was a lot more nimble than they were in the water, and so I used those strengths to my advantage. And I think doing that it completely transformed my confidence. And I think that has really helped me in more ways than I know of today.
Oh my God. So you were like the only girl on the team?
Yeah. And actually I met my husband in college, and I was hanging out with one of his friends, and he grew up in the same kind of area that I grew up in. And I said, "Oh, I played water polo." And he goes, "Oh my God, you were that girl on the guys' team." And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "You were so good." I was like, "Oh my God."
See, it led you to meet your husband. It led that.
Exactly. So yeah, that was definitely a gutsy move, I think.
That is freaking rad. Thanks for taking us back to high school. It's often we can go back into, the archives. Like, because I'd say, back then we didn't have like the responsibilities that we had now. And I have certain moves and I'm like, holy crap, I can't believe I pulled that off. Like, where did I get that idea from? But I'm glad that I did it. That is so awesome. And like, were people in your school like, "Erica, what are you doing?" Like, were people supportive, or some people like, "What?"
Um, you know what? I think people were supportive. No, yeah, nobody thought it was weird.
That's
I mean, at least not to my face.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I didn't really care what they were saying.
You didn't care. You
face,
just knew you needed to do it. You knew you needed to do it, and
I really wanted to do it. So that was it.
You freaking did it. Good for you, Erica. Oh my. You are one amazing woman. Thanks so much for being here today. All your guts moves. I know our listeners got a tremendous amount of value from this. So all of you listeners out there in the galaxy, what one action are you going to take today as a result of listening to Erica's story? What she was able to do. I mean, so many freaking moves. Like, you can't wait for people to, figure this out for you. You've got to do it yourself. Erica, thank you.
Thank you so much.
And all you listeners out there, this is Jenny Fenig sending you so much love, light, and faith as you get gutsy. I will see you next time.
Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and you're listening to Get Gutsy with Jenny Fenig. Gutsy leaders unite and ignite.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Get Gutsy as much as I enjoyed creating it for you. Are you responsible for leading and growing your spiritual business? If so, I have a free tool for you that will help you spread your message like wildfire. It's called the Sacred Marketing Puzzle, and it's a one-page PDF guide that simplifies the often mysterious and confusing world of marketing. When you use sacred marketing tools to amplify your message, you'll provide huge value to your tribe and grow your business. What are you waiting for? Go to jennyfenig.com/puzzle to get yours instantly. That's jennyfenig.com/puzzle. Gutsy leaders, unite.